Christopher Lloyd just fucking just fucking hams it up so much that he like takes this over as Butte, not booty, Butte. But yeah, there's even one scene that they kept it on where it was close to the end where he's like in the back of the ship and he's just like ranting off, going off, and you could tell it's kind of improv that like fucking John Lithgow just starts cracking up, right? But they kept it in the film, right? Like it's just him just laughing because he couldn't handle fucking Christopher Lloyd. This week should be a fun week because we're going to a place we've never gone before. We're heading into the 8th dimension. We're talking movies. We're talking The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension, starring Peter Weller, John Lithgow, and Ellen Barkin. Written by Earl MacRonch and directed by W.D. Richter. Chris, it's Butte. Tay.
Listen, I don't care if you drove through a mountain in Texas. This is New Jersey, and when you play my joint, just another act. Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? We're gonna have to see where this goes. As Scott said, we're doing The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension from 1984. Yeah, you know what? We're just going to go to Scott right away. Scott, let's get into this, man.
Chris, sometimes you just got to give the audience what they want. And it's been a while.
You definitely didn't give your co-host
Wait. Listen, let me finish.
Okay,
fine, it's been a while. And the audience wants a Chris rant episode. That's why I picked, like, when you're like, give me suggestions for movies, I just made sure to pick ones that I know would fucking trigger you.
That's what friends are for.
Hey, do you remember what was on that list of possible movies that we could have done?
It was like Night Swim. This one.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I've got it here. The First Omen.
Yes.
Boy Kills World. You know what? Boy Kills World, if it wasn't still like whatever, $25 to watch at home, I would have gone down that road. That was the one I actually wanted to watch. Definitely didn't want to do Night Swim. And even the First Omen, I mean, it would have, I'm down. I probably would have been afraid and cried and then been like sucking my thumb. But anyway, let's talk about the one I did pick because I'm fucking cheap. And I was like, oh, this is available on Amazon.
Hello, I like money.
And listen, when you read out that cast, this film is like stacked. Like, I feel like I got tricked. You know what I mean?
We've been duped! Bamboozled!
We've been speckledorfed.
That's not even a word, and I agree with you.
This movie had a fucking $17 million budget in 1984. Okay? As we've talked about, it has Peter Weller, who you probably definitely know from RoboCop. But fucking John Lithgow, Jeff Goldblum, Christopher Lloyd, and then there's a bunch of character actors in it as well from the 80s. And I was like, so I'm watching this, like looking into this movie before I even said yes. And I got fucking shanghaied. I mean, kind of interesting that I got shanghaied by a guy that also wrote Big Trouble, Little China. Yeah, man, like, what the fuck? And listen, normally I would save this to the end. I'll tell you right now, I did not finish this movie. I watched halfway through this movie, I'm messaging Scott going, what did I say? Piece of shit, piece of dog shit, yada, yada, yada. I got another quarter goes by and I'm like, I'm out. Tap, out. I tapped right the fuck out of this movie, Scott.
Okay, first, that's, not professional of you.
We are not amused.
Second, who wrote Big Trouble in Little China? Because it wasn't this guy.
It was the director.
Oh,
W.D.
okay.
Richter. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say because the writer he wrote New York, New York with
which was yes,
with Scorsese.
So even although New York, New York is what? late 70s.
Yeah, it's like a musical, I think.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. But I
Scorsese's
mean,
musical.
how much like I was about to say, like, even in the hands of a great director like Scorsese, but then I'm like, how much fucking blow was Scorsese doing in the late 70s? Like a lot. Like a lot. Like enough to kill a small horse kind of fucking amounts of cocaine. So the fact that Scorsese even agreed to do a fucking musical about New York with Barbara Streisand and Robert De Niro, because you know Robert De Niro is known as a fucking Broadway musical star. Like you got to be fucking coked to the gills to do that. So
Now let's celebrate the way rich guys do by... God damn it, I snorted the wrong one. Ah, wasabi! Wasabi in my nostril!
yeah, not surprising this guy's two big writing jobs are fucked. Like just fucked.
Well, yeah, to be honest, I can't remember New York, but when I was looking at what else he did do a movie in 1989 that at least the premise itself seems interesting. It's called Wired. Have you ever seen it?
I have not.
So the premise of this movie is the ghost of John Belushi looks back on his life and career while a journalist is researching his life to prepare a book about the late actor, and Michael Chiklis plays John Belushi. Like it seems
why
like
not just write a biopic? Like why have a ghost? Why like what the fuck, dude?
But that's the thing. Like it's a concept. I like in terms of biopics, you don't really see, right? Like
I wonder why. I wonder why. Sort of like musicals about New York with Barbara Streisand and fucking Robert De Niro. Concepts you don't really see, probably for a fucking reason. Sort of like this fucking movie.
No. Like I'm just saying. Like we'll say I'll say this, and then we'll go back to actually this movie. But like depending on your view in terms of afterlife, there is a section of the population that believes like once you pass, you go into what's kind of like a life review where you're sitting down kind of like in a movie theater and you're watching your life to see.
I'm fucked then. That is going to be a cringeworthy and boring
you're just gonna be like, are they gonna have tissue paper and lube? Let me tell you, I'm going Paul Rubens on this shit. Like, oh yeah, I remember that one.
Well, he's so handsome. So did you like this movie? Had you seen this movie before?
I watched it years. I like it. I know it's a cult movie. And I watched it years and years ago when I was a kid, probably in the 90s, like Blockbuster, right? It was probably like right after like kind of RoboCop kind of thing, and then just trying to catch up on some Peter Weller. But yeah, it was the same thing. Like to me, you're gonna go off, but I think it's kind of like ahead of its time. And what I mean is, like, if you continued on with it, like I think it's funnier that the aliens in this movie, or the beings from the eighth dimension, act more human than the humans do, because the humans are more like Buckaroo's not a Mary Sue, what are those called, Marty Sue. So he's like the guy who can't do wrong, like he's perfect at everything. What's his
and
title?
There's literally another character called like Perfect Steve or something like that.
Yeah, Perfect Tommy or something.
Yeah. Who has like a Billy Idol kind of aesthetic going on.
Yeah. The fact that he's a brain surgeon, a rock musician, and like a physio, or
and a test pilot. And he's a test pilot. So again, this is gotta be also the most 80s movie, because like my quote comes from when they're about to play a gig. So you're like, you open this film with him like, you know, test pilot in this rocket car, and he ends up going through the mountain and yada yada yada, and then he's getting ready to play a gig in New Jersey, and you're just like, what the fuck? Why?
Wait, no, you no, like if you're gonna say it right. He first completed very high tech, very instrumental brain surgery first, then got helicoptered
with Jeff Goldblum as his like assistant.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff Goldblum was supposed to do it, but then he fucked it up, so he had to call in Buckaroo, right? And then he gets helicoptered to do the test. Then he has a test within a test because the army didn't know about his other test.
That's right. That's right.
And then
Which gets them into the like 8th dimension.
Yeah, and then they go, the Hong Kong Cavaliers go do their rock and roll thing, and then I loved
but also, oh my god, and then they're rocking out, and I'm watching. So I love watching movies sometimes and like checking out the background, right? Being like, okay, what are these fucking actors? And they're in their 80s, fucking swinging around, dancing, and then you hear like crying. So then the show stops, and that introduces Alan Barkin's character, and you're just like, can you guys
pretty?
Like you're supposed to have B, C storylines, not A storylines that just like fucking shoot off into 8 dimensions. You know what I mean? Like you can actually just put in separate fucking storylines. They don't have to all run in the same like linear fashion.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I guarantee you fucking Scorsese took that intro to the bar, and that's what he used for Goodfellas, when it's just the tracking shot of them going through the fucking crowd, and Peter Weller is like twirling, and he is like, I'm fucking doing this with Goodfellas. Like that's where the visual came for. He was like, we're just going through this shit, but he's like, I'm not gonna have Ray Liotta spin around because he's gonna hit a pot and pans, right? Like it's a kitchen, we can't do that. But yeah, man, I love that fucking tracking shot because it's just like it just fucking comes out of nowhere, because you're just like, man, these guys, like, they're everybody, right? And like, I don't know, did you get to the part where like they go to their house, like his compound?
Well, there's some multiple shots at the compound, right?
But it's like he's supposed to be super famous, and they have like groupies outside, but it's only like they can only get 2 extras. And they're like, oh yeah, there's the one guy, and they're like just naming out who the characters' names are just in case you didn't pick it up, right? One, I'll say, like in terms of cast, it was fucking awesome watching Clancy Brown like be a good guy, because he must have been coming off of fucking Highlander.
Yeah.
Off of this one, right? Yeah.
Well, so this is funny. So John Lithgow, who fucking has Academy Award nominations for The World According to Garp in Terms of Endearment, bracket this film. That's what was crazy. So he does Terms of Endearment. So he's like an Oscar-nominated actor. He does this, and then he does A World According to Garp. And you're like again, if you just go and you're like, look up the Wikipedia on this thing, you're like, this is going to be a fucking great film. It's almost like when you take all the best ingredients and you just dump them in a blender, and you're like, and you're like, why doesn't that taste amazing? It's like, I don't know, because like steak tartare, champagne, and I don't know, chocolate and pizza probably don't all go together. You know what I mean?
You're making me hungry now. But yeah, like I enjoy it because it's like, this is 100% like just a turn off your mind kind of fucking movie. Like it's just 100% just sit back, and if you want to try to figure it out, right? But it's just like, it's just one scene after another, like fucking Christopher Lloyd just fucking just fucking hams it up so much that he like takes this over as Booty, not Booty, Booty. But yeah, there's even one scene that they kept it on where it was close to the end, where he's like in the back of the ship and he's just like ranting off, going off, and you could tell it's kind of improv, that like fucking John Lithgow just starts cracking up, right? But they kept it in the film, right? Like it's just him just laughing because he couldn't handle fucking Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah. Like they were having some good like improv times. And I just a correction. So Terms of Endearment and The World According to Garp don't bracket this film. They come before it. So he's like a multiple Oscar nominated actor, does Footloose, and then does this. And you're like, how did you even get this guy in your fucking movie? But multiple of the actors often talk about, they're like, didn't really understand the script. So you're like, okay, well, I mean, tough scripts can be handled as long as they've got like a decent director. But Richter is really like, he's mostly known as a writer. Like he wrote the Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 78, Brubaker, which he got an Oscar nod for. Obviously, we talked about Big Trouble Little China, but like, so you've got this like impossible script, a director that's not super experienced. Like, what the fuck did they, and how they got a 17, what did they say, a $17 million budget? Like, this was like not some bullshit fucking. When I was watching this, I was like, oh my God, okay, this is like $100,000, $1 million, like whatever. This is some like Roger Corman fucking budget movie. Nope. Like fucking, and people thought this was going to be some fucking big deal. Like the costumes.
Well,
hold on. The costumes.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
The costumes for them were like Versace and Giorgio Armani and stuff like that. Like, I don't know what, like I said, everything in a blender doesn't necessarily work.
Well, I'm just going to say, like, in terms of box office, right? Like, I think in terms of where it was slated is what hurt it, right? Like, originally it was supposed to come out on, I think,
in like 83 or something, right?
Well, no, it was 84. It was because it was originally supposed to be like June 84, but then that would have put it up against Ghostbusters, Raiders of the Lost, Ghostbusters, Temple of Doom, Karate Kid, and another Gremlins.
Oh, Jesus.
So then they pushed it to August, would then put it up against Revenge of the Nerds, which, you know, what it was, but then it put it up against the movie with the biggest opening weekend in 84, which was Red Dawn. So like where,
Jesus, man, we forget sometimes, like when you go and look at like films that came out in a certain year and you're just like, it's like banger, 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 banger. Now we get like one good movie a year that opens, you know what I mean? Maybe two.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like no matter where they were going to put it, I think it was going to be tough, right? And that's the thing, like this was 80, so they're like, okay, we put this amount of money in the movie, it has to be a blockbuster, it has to come out in the summer, right? Or now, you know, these movies are more spread out where, you know, you can have like a blockbuster tentpole come out in March or April, right? Or even May, right? Like if this started the season,
like
it
January?
probably would, no, even May, I would say. If it came out in May, April, it probably would have done better, right? Because obviously the competition wouldn't have been as much, because even that same summer fucking Conan the Destroyer comes out. What else comes out that summer? Fucking Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks.
Hanks. Back before he was like a dramatic actor.
Yeah, even the re-release of the cartoon Jungle Book, that made fucking 17 million domestically, right?
Yeah, so I agree with you. But I also think that if this film was like it was made now, the studio, well, I mean, if it was now, this would be direct to streaming. But if you were going to do a theatrical release, you would stick it in a hole in the early season, right? Like February, something like that. You also wouldn't spend, I mean, I shouldn't say you wouldn't spend $17 million on it, because we still spend obscene amounts of money on just absolute dog shit fucking movies. So
yeah, so in terms of like, it's entertaining, and the thing, like this is a cult. This is a cult classic, right? Like like similar to Mad Max, the original, it found its audience on home video, and it's become the problem. My understanding of it, the problem is the reason why, because a lot of people have tried to either remake this or sequelize it, because, you know, he was supposed to come up against the Crime League or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that was the tag at the end. The rights, because the studio was bankrupt right after this movie, so the rights for it are in limbo to who owns it. I know a couple of years ago post or pre-pandemic, Kevin Smith was going to do a TV, like remake this into a TV show.
Yeah, and he
And
wanted
then
Quentin
sequel,
Tarantino to like direct a couple episodes, and
yeah, but then they found out in terms of the rights, and then for some reason Amazon decided to sue the creator, like the writer of the property. So that's what made Kevin Smith back away from it. So yeah, so but it is like it's a mashup is the way I can explain it. Like you start with the opening crawl, you're thinking it's Star Wars, and it has the best fucking credit, like end credit scenes ever, where it's just them fucking strutting like they're about Reservoir Dogs about to fuck somebody up, just all connecting to each other, and then just like fucking walking by like a wall that has the title of the movie, and then the rest of the credits just pop up over that. Like
which
that,
I mean, the fact that Reservoir Dogs is a '90s film and Quentin Tarantino definitely is known for his love of B movies, it's quite possible that that was inspiration for Reservoir Dogs. Like, I can't confirm that. I don't have that as a fact, but like, if what you're saying is true, this movie comes out like
Chris,
way before it, right? So
it's 2024. You don't need facts. You can just say that's what it is, and
then someone will cite our podcast as a fact
exactly
in the Wikipedia as
exactly.
heard on a podcast.
We don't need research. Let me tell you why this movie didn't do bad.
Two middle-aged men said this is to be true. Therefore,
it must be true.
It must be true. Did you watch this alone, or did you watch it with one of your kids? Or did you make your wife watch it?
No,
because I'm sure she would have divorced you.
No. Like I know, like there's certain films that I know I need to watch by myself, and this is one of them, because like I know the interests of each one of my kids. I knew this wouldn't interest them, and then they would just like be a you in which they'd be complaining. My wife, like when they have the bondage scene, she would have just been like, what the fuck, and then just leave.
Wait, there's a bondage scene?
Well, maybe you should, I don't know, Chris. You'd have to watch the movie. I may or may not
watched most of it, man.
I may or may not just be saying shit now, because you don't know. All the good shit happened at the end, man. It was just like a massive orgy, like with Penny Purdy. You don't know if that happened or not, because you need to watch it. You got to be professional. If I have to sit through 4 hours of Animal,
yeah, but I also didn't watch that movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to be professional. You know, you got to.
Have you ever known me to be professional on this show?
I don't know.
So yeah, it's got a huge cult following. Like, Entertainment Weekly ranked this as number 43 out of top 50 cult movies. Like, out of the 50 best cult movies, this is in there. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know. Maybe I was in the wrong headspace. Like, I was in a serious movie watching mood, and I just was like, what the fuck did Scott make me watch? You know what I mean? Do you think that, like, is there anything you would change? Like, do you think there's a way to, like, make this film better as far as, like, structure?
In terms of structure, but I don't know, because I think, like, what the guy wanted, like, what the writer wanted is what's on the screen. It's just what's the whatchamacallit, the David Lynch fucking style of writing scripts, where you just write 7 scenes and then
stick them together,
right? Because that's technically what this kind of is, right? Like, and that's why he's like fucking, he's everything and everybody, right? Like, but in terms of, like, I think you would need more, like, to me, you need more explanation on terms of the 8th dimension, because they just have like that brief little, like, you know, it's the press conference that they have to wrap up because there's like a convention or something coming in.
Motorcycle convention, which is why he's able to jump on a Harley and fucking ride away.
Right, because that's the thing, right? Like, they're filming it and they're like, holy shit, how are we going to explain how this guy just jumped on a motorcycle? And then they just throw in, they're like, okay, let's go back. We're going to just throw in this line, like, we need to wrap this up quick. Like, before the press conference even starts, they're like, well, there's a motorcycle convention coming, right? So yeah, so you kind of need to explain that other, like, when the one alien is killed by the 2 Hicks, There really should have been more like, holy fuck, that's an alien kind of thing, right? Because it
Yes, people were just
reverted.
like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. They're like, whatever. But also the one thing like I'm still unsure of is in terms of Lithgow's character, because there's the flashback scene and he goes into the eighth dimension, but only part way. So was he like inhabited by one of the beings while he was in there or not? Like, I don't know if he just went crazy because he went in there and he wants to go back, because they have the scene close to the end, which you wouldn't have seen, where they have like they invent the armored vest with like a gas that, you know, the Honkai Cavaliers can like suck on the gas and they can see the aliens as they are, not as the human beings. Which like in that scene when they're revealing it, like fucking Jeff Goldblum just does amazing, where he takes the gas and then sees the alien and then he like keeps on looking back because he can't fucking believe what they actually look like. um yeah, so wait, so you if you didn't so you missed the whole Jeff Goldblum in the cowboy costume?
No, I saw him show up,
Oh.
and they're just like what's like what the fuck, dude? Like why? Because he thought he was getting in the band.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
like
you probably only had like 15 minutes left of the movie before you fucking turned it off.
I told you, I
Oh
watched
my
3/4
God.
of it. Yeah, like you bring up that. So John Lithgow is playing Dr. Emilio Lizardo, but yeah, he's playing Lord John Warfin. So he has to be in like infected by the alien. It can't just be crazy. But even that, okay, listen, okay, this film is so bizarre. If you're a crazy homicidal patient, you don't just cruise around your asylum and like, hey, what's up, buddy? And have a TV and like a bunch of fucking science shit. Like, I was like, isn't this guy in a mental institution? Shouldn't he just be in a fucking cell? Like,
It was the 80s, you know, they're more trusting back then.
I guess so. I guess so.
But yeah, not everything can be one flew over the cuckoo's nest, right?
This is
But
true. This thing has a 66% from the critics, 69 from the audience. Like, so yeah, fucking people like it enough to go, and it's from 84s, right? So there's a lot of people though that have given this like a kind of thumbs up rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So like currently, like people are still enjoying this flick.
well,
Yeah.
all the art house theaters, I guarantee you, if you throw this up, right, like on film, then you have like people will come to this.
Yo, they played this at Quentin's the new Beverly, and there was a lineup around the fucking block. They had to like delay because there was like people still trying to get concessions. Peter Weller was there. Like you said, like Kevin Smith was gonna do a fucking TV show. So like I feel like the guy that showed up to the party everybody's having a good time on and just took a shit on the rug or something. Like although I do feel, I'll be honest, I take this as like, so I'm a film nerd, but I'm a pretentious film nerd. And this feels a lot like the type of thing where people are like, it's so bad, it's good. And I'm like, it also might just be bad. Like it just may not be good at all, but everybody's too cool for fucking school on this bad boy. So, but I don't know, you seem to like it.
Yeah, like I said, this is 100% like a brain off kind of film, right? Like you don't really need to pay attention to it. It has like a lot of sight gags, right? Like the fucking aliens like talking back at one another, and then when he turns his head, the alien fucking like giving him the finger, like just telling him to fuck off.
Well,
Like,
so you know that whole watermelon was added just to see if the producer was even paying attention to the fucking movie anymore. Like,
yeah, because I was reading it because they kept on getting a lot of fucking notes about shit, and then they're like, are they even watching this, or are they just like fucking just, you know, doing it? So yeah, they throw the scene in and then nothing gets said, and then they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna make the film the way we want, because no one's actually
oh, and they did.
uh
And they did.
yeah, so that's the thing. But if you are interested, the writer did right in 2021 the novel Buckaroo Banzai Against the World Crime League. So it's a novel he got to read. So if you want to do it, and there were a bunch of like prequel and sequel comics that were done. So you can read up on that if you want to go back into this to this world.
All right, Scott, before you go, anything else you want to say?
No, that would have been it right there. But yeah.
But you know how it goes. I finished the show. So and so my quote, gonna finish the show. It's from Variety. It's not even a person at Variety. It's just like the staff of Variety. It violates every rule of storytelling and narrative structure in creating a self-contained world of its own.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. That didn't seem like a diss on it. I was just saying, like, hey, this is what they did well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's like kind of like what I liked about it is the fact that it's ambiguous, just like this film. Like it's like if you like the film, you like it probably because it violates every rule of storytelling and narrative structure. And if you don't like it, it's because it violates every rule of storytelling and narrative structure, right? So.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.